The Civil War in the US was fought over freeing slaves, and it started in 1861, the same year when the Russian Empire abolished serfdom. At that time, Britain and France have already abolished slavery in 1834 and 47, respectively, and so on. After this era, all citizens of the Western world should be free people. But are they? Well, in the superficial sense of slavery, as described, say, in Uncle Tom's Cabin, yes, but by and large, it is not entirely true, or rather, not true at all. Psychologist Viktor Frankl, who survived concentration camps, wrote that the prisoners there felt like slaves because their existence was reduced to caring for their basic animalistic needs. The system managed to make them think only about how to get their next ration of food and not being beaten. And for that, they had to work. The prisoners could not think of anything besides for their basic natural instincts. This is the state of a slave. His entire existence is subject to the instinct of self preservation. Frankel began forcing himself to do things other than those aimed at survival. And this made him feel free even while he was behind barbed wire. He so understood that slaves are not only those who live in barracks. He realized that he saw many slaves living in the free world. Who is a slave? Is it a person who has someone standing over him with a whip? No. A slave is someone who is enslaved by his animal instincts. He cannot think of anything besides for his physical survival. And a slave master ends up being just an intermediary who is bringing this person to this state. Masters don't enslave people, they're just agents bringing people to be enslaved by their physical needs. A person who can think of nothing but his material survival is a slave. If a man who does what he wants is a free person, then prisoners of concentration camps should be considered free. As survivors of those horrors noted, most of the prisoners no longer wanted anything other than what was necessary for their survival. All they desired was to get their next ration of food and avoid beatings. And if that happened, then they got everything they wanted. So, were they free people? Of course not. They were slaves because their desires were reduced to their animalistic needs. The concentration camps made them slaves, slaves to their physical necessities. The same thing happened to Jews in Egypt. They were slaves. The Egyptians made them slaves. But Egyptians were not their slave masters. The Egyptians were agents who brought them into the state of slavery, the slavery of their physical needs. Therefore, to be liberated from slavery, it was not enough for Jews to simply get rid of Egyptians. It was possible for them to now live without Egyptians, continuing to think only about their basic physical necessities and therefore remaining slaves. As Frankl wrote, he saw many slaves living in the free world. Therefore, the Jews were given the Torah, which says that we also must take care of other needs besides for our material ones. The commandments of the Torah impose spiritual obligations. Now, our animal desires are no longer our supreme master. So, was slavery abolished in Europe and in America a couple of centuries ago, we, free citizens of the Western world, wake up every morning to go to work. We provide for ourselves, we get our food, we buy houses, we have fun, we travel for vacations. But are we free? Everything we do is aimed at satisfying our animalistic desires. Now, many of these animalistic desires may be very good. Animals also take care of their children and share responsibilities within their herds, but they're animals. If we are enslaved by our animal desires, we are not free. For the Jewish people, liberation from Egyptian slavery meant beginning to live caring for things besides for their material concerns. Beginning to live according to the commandments of the Torah, which are aimed at taking care of our spiritual needs as well